I think we have an inner strength that we don't know we have until we have to use it. Because very often they say, the woman's place is in the house. The woman's place is to take care of children. But for us, we say, the woman's place is in the struggle.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of our program Weaving the Future. We are here today in Utrecht with Coni Ledesma, who is a long-term member of the National Democratic Front, and Makibaka, which is the Philippine Women's Organization. And we will learn today about the struggle of the Philippine people, especially the Philippine women, and about the achievements of their organization. So first of all, thank you very much for taking the time today.
Yeah.
Maybe first of all, you can tell us a little bit about the place that we are in right now. Like, it's kind of a museum, as I understood. Maybe you can open a little bit what kind of place this is.
Yes. This place used to be the international office of the National Democratic Front of the Philippines. And then Jose Maria Sison, the founding chairman of the Communist Party of the Philippines, passed away in 2022. And so because of his great achievements in the Philippine struggle, we transformed this entire place as a museum to honor him and so that his work will be known by the people. So this is the start of the museum, and it starts with, this is the Philippines, the map of the Philippines, and then it starts with the early years, the parents of Jose Maria Sison, himself as a young boy. So pictures. You have a video here when he talks about his awakening as a young boy, his early activism, his marriage to Julie de Lima Sison. And this is a famous speech that he wrote for Patrice Lumumba of Congo, who was murdered, and who's people still honor him. And so this was written in the 1960s or something. So there are also other achievements of Sison, and then here his arrest and other political prisoners after he was released. Yeah, the picture there is other political prisoners and the call for the release of political prisoners. And this is pictures of him when he was released, when the dictator Marcos was overthrown. The next president, Corazon Aquino, had promised to release all political prisoners. So she did that, which was good because all the political prisoners were released, including Jose Maria Sison. So then after that, he traveled abroad, and these are the different places he went to.
It's also interesting because it's like really all over the world.
Yeah.
Did go everywhere.
Yeah, except the United States.
Of course.
And then his passport was cancelled, so he asked political asylum in the Netherlands. He was never granted asylum, so he was allowed to stay here, but he had no status at all.
He had no status. No. He could also not do any political work then, I guess.
He was not supposed to, but he did.
He did, of course.
And then there was one time when there were journalists in the Philippines, 2 Dutch journalists, and they were offered $200,000 by the Philippine government if they could produce Jose Maria Sison.
Wow, what did they do?
They came and they told Joma himself
wow.
that they were offered that amount. So these are some of his clothes. This was when he died, his funeral, his coffin. A lot of people attended the cremation ceremonies. And that's his widow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So then we decided that this used to be the NDF office, but then we decided we wanted to honor him, so we changed it, reworked the whole place to be the museum, the Legacy Museum, and the NDF office now is upstairs, 2 rooms there.
And it's also, you said it's also open to the public, no? This museum.
This museum is open to
so
the
everyone
public.
can come.
Yes.
Yeah. It's really a special place. Like
Yes.
you feel that it's a place where his legacy is still alive.
Yes.
Yeah.
And many come here,
Yeah.
especially Filipinos who are traveling. They come here and
they visit it and take a look around.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, thank you also.
So for the beginning, I would like you to introduce yourself and your organization.
Okay, yeah. So I'm Coni Ledesma. I'm from the Philippines, and I am a member of I've been a political activist since the 1970s, and I'm a member of the National Democratic Front of the Philippines. I'm in the negotiating panel in the peace talks with the government of the Republic of the Philippines. I'm also the international representative of Makibaka, which is a revolutionary women's organization and a member of the National Democratic Front. So, and just maybe a bit of interest, I've been here in the Netherlands since 1976. My husband and I were the first political refugees of Filipino origin in the Netherlands.
Okay. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your organization. You were now mentioning already. Maybe you can open a little bit what the aims are of the organization,
Yes.
like what you struggle for.
Yeah. Makibaka means, it's a Philippine word, it means to struggle. Wow. So, and it is actually an acronym of the New Women, an organization of new women, of Filipino women. It was founded in the 1970s, I think it was 1972, or even 1971. And it came out, the history of Makibaka is very interesting because women used to join ordinary youth organizations, different youth organizations. And then this was in the early 70s, and after a while, the women began to say, we need our own organization. And the men in the organization did not want the women to form their own organization because they said it would divide the forces. But the women continued, no, we have to have our own organization. And so they gave birth to Makibaka. And one of the first activities of Makibaka, it was 1971, I think, or 1970, excuse me, was to picket a Miss Universe contest that was happening in the Philippines. Because then they showed that, the dignity of the woman, and she's not a piece of flesh that you exhibit. And this was something new, that there would be something that would be against the beauty contest. And it drew women from all classes. The rich and the bourgeois women came and joined the protest, and peasant women, workers, they all joined. So this was one awakening of what the women could do. And then the men began to say, they are right. They can do something more. And instead of dividing the forces, it increased the forces. And so it was so easy to organize the women. And it spread all over the Philippines. There were Makibaka chapters. In 1972, the president then, Ferdinand Marcos, declared martial law and became a dictator. And all these activist organizations had to go underground. Underground meaning they had to go into hiding. But in hiding, they continued organizing. And Makibaka members did the same thing. They went into hiding, but they were organizing in the different provinces, and they continued to grow. And the Philippines has an armed struggle that is waged by the New People's Army. And this was something that the women began to do. They began to join the armed struggle. This was also something new, that in their numbers, they began to join the armed struggle. And as a matter of fact, in the 1980s, there were even squads that were all women. And they began to, they got promoted. And even today, you have commanders that are women. And this was something that the women at first did not realize, that this was a definite contribution that they could make until they started making that contribution. And today, Makibaka continues to exist, and mostly in the countrysides, in the areas in the mountains where the government services do not reach, and it is the women. They form organizations, and together with the men, there are different organizations of women, men, cultural organizations, youth, and they begin the life of living a democratic life, learning to lead, learning to develop themselves into the new woman, which is Makibaka. And many of them joined the New People's Army. So that is Makibaka today. There are thousands. I don't know the numbers. They never tell how many numbers there are, but there are more, there are hundreds of thousands of them. In the cities, in what we call the legal area, you have Gabriela. Gabriela is not part of the National Democratic Front. It is part of the Makabayan, no, it's not. It's with the Bayan, New Patriotic Alliance of legal organizations. And it is the biggest alliance of women organizations. There are, I think, several hundreds. It has about 400 organizations. And it also has organizations, it has now spread outside the Philippines. And you have many of the women in the diaspora who are members of Gabriela. So it's a big organization. And then from Gabriela, it has branched out into the Gabriela Women's Party, which goes into elections. And they have been elected in Congress under the party list. And they have been, and of course, Congress in the Philippines is run by corrupt, selfish bureaucrats. And so you have the voices of several, right now there's one woman representative of Gabriela, but there are also others that are young activists. There is a young woman from the youth organization, from the teachers. You have 3 or 4 of these progressive people who are in Congress, and they work to fight for better laws, on the family laws, and for better care for children, etc.
You were talking about how Makibaka tried to develop the new woman, or how they developed themselves into the new woman. Can you maybe open this a little bit, like in terms of did they do education, or in what way do you mean it?
Oh yes,
what are the methods,
and as I said, in the Philippines, you have to see in the Philippines, the Philippine government is very corrupt, and so much people's money is being pocketed by the corrupt government officials. So there are many services that do not reach the people in the countryside, where the majority of the people in the Philippines are. For example, medical care, education, what else? Social benefits. They do not reach the people in the countryside. So women, Makibaka, they train themselves. Doctors and nurses and even dentists go up to the mountains and train the people there how to do basic medical care, hygiene, and also teachers go up, and the women take on these responsibilities, and they become medical personnel. I can tell you an incident because I have been to, my husband and I, in some of the guerrilla fronts. When we go to the Philippines, we go to the guerrilla fronts and stay for a while. And we met. This was on the occasion of the anniversary of the Communist Party, and so there was a show about not a platoon, bigger, a brigade of New People's Army had a parade, and so we met some of them and made friends with them. And so we asked, especially these two women, we asked, what is your role here? And they said, we are medical personnel. So that's what we thought they were. And then when they had the passing parade, one of them was a commander, and she was commanding a whole platoon. She's also a medical officer, but she's also a commander. So this is how they involve themselves in working for a better Philippines.
So it seems like they're really connected to the society also. It's not just a guerrilla force that is outside in the mountains. They're really inside of the...
Yeah, they're part of building a new society. They're part of the new woman. The Philippine women, like the Kurdish, we have been colonized. And before that, the Spaniards came in the 16th century. Before that, Filipino women were quite independent. They could take over the leadership in a tribe if there was no male leader. They were priestesses, known as babaylan. And a priestess was also like a healer among the community. And they were very much respected. The Spaniards came and they say, put the women in church and put them in the kitchen. The feudal concept that you must obey the man, that he's the boss. And this was injected into the culture of the Filipino woman. But the strength of the woman, while that is, and it is still today, many women believe they have to obey their husbands, they have to be submissive to their husband, and all. But there is still this woman inside the woman who is independent, who is fighting for her rights. And that is what Makibaka is encouraging women to do, to be the new woman. Do not be subservient. Do not be just like you're not worth anything. You have to contribute to society. And that's why they say a woman's place is in the struggle. Because very often they say the woman's place is in the house. Yeah. The woman's place is to take care of children. Yeah. But for us, we say the woman's place is in the struggle.
Maybe you can open a little bit more about the struggle of the Philippine people. You already mentioned now, the Philippine people have also been colonized. Maybe you can open a bit more, the historical background also, of the struggle also today, but also historically of the Philippine people.
Yes. As I said, we were colonized by Spain in 15... My history is not that... But it's in the 16th century. They were colonized by Spain. And Spain imposed and developed a feudal culture in the Philippines. And of course, Spain was getting taxes from the people, from their labor. So, and we were colonized for over 300 years. Now, while there was this colonization, the Filipino people always resisted. If you look at the history, there was always a history of resistance. And at the end of the 19th century, at the end of the 19th century, the people began to wage an armed struggle to free themselves from Spain. It was the first armed struggle in Asia. So that is our distinction. And we actually won. We were able to assert our independence from Spain. And then the United States came in. The United States was a rising power, came in and talked to Spain so that Spain would not lose face. They pretended to have a battle and they won, supposed to be, whereas the Filipinos had won. And then the United States bought the Philippines from Spain for $20 million. At that time, there were 20 million Filipinos. So we were sold for $1 each. And they colonized the Philippines. So there was again a war. The Filipinos fought against the United States. But the United States had stronger arms, and the Filipinos lost that war. And then began the colonization and the domination of the United States. And what they did was they sent the Filipinos to the United States to study so that the Filipinos would absorb the American culture. And then they started to teach English in schools. And for example, when I went to school, everything was taught in English. We were forbidden to speak our language. That sounds familiar with the Kurds. Yeah. You would be punished if you were speaking your own language, because in school you were supposed to speak English. And this is how they brainwashed the Filipinos. And then in 1968, the Communist Party was reestablished, and they started the revolutionary struggle. They had a program. What do we want the Philippines to be like? We want to get out of the control of the United States. Actually, in 1946, the United States gave independence to the Philippines. But before giving independence, they made sure that all the laws and all the treaties that were signed would still give dominance to the United States, especially military and economic treaties. So that right now, our struggle is fighting this. We are really fighting for our independence. And it's been more than 50 years. The New People's Army was started in 1969, and it is still going on. It is Revolutionary Army. It is all over the Philippines, and it is building the new Philippines in the areas that they control. We don't have liberated areas because any area can be bombed, any area. But it is the people's minds, the people that become politically aware, that become for them important, that they are struggling and fighting for their independence and organizing themselves. That is what's happening in the Philippines.
You were also mentioning, like before, that women always like had a very strong role. But are there like some points where you say that was very like a breaking point where women took over a leading role, or where women really took on leadership? Yeah. Do you have maybe you can outline a little bit like that?
A lot of trade unions are headed by women. There are peasant organizations of women. There are women workers organizations. Of course, you have Gabriela, you have Makibaka. Let me see what. But they are in different sectors, and women, even if it's a men and women's organization, women play a very prominent role in it. Health organizations, teachers organizations, and they're very active throughout the Philippines.
I wanted to ask another question, because you were mentioning in the beginning that one of the first actions was against this Miss Philippines, this beauty contest. Yeah. Regarding this, I wanted to ask how you see the situation today, because as we look at society today, we see that beauty standards are more and more putting women actually in a cage, putting them into this very sexualized and very from a very man point of view picture. How do you see the situation? If you also know, you mentioned the history, even then you were protesting against this. How do you see the last developments, the situation today?
What is very interesting is we have had at least 3 beauty queens who became part of the movement.
Really?
Yes. And you see, what happened is they got politicalized. Yeah. One of them was Miss World, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, really.
Joined the struggle.
Yeah. Wow. And this particular woman, she came from a very rich family. even if you're really rich, yeah, one of the really rich ones would have Spanish background because part of the colonization. And this woman, Maita Gomez, she came from the Spanish lineage. And she was very tall, she was beautiful. So she ran and she won the title. And then she studied in the University of the Philippines. And there she got politicalized. And then she left her bourgeois husband and joined the movement. She became a member of the New People's Army. Wow. And then after she was arrested. She escaped from prison. I mean, she had really had a long history. And then, because after she was arrested, she didn't go back anymore to being a member of the New People's Army. She was one of the founders of Gabriela. Wow. I mean, she has such an interesting life. And she has passed away. But people really honor her. Another one was Nelia Sancho. She was Miss Asia Pacific or something. And she was, of course, these were beautiful women. And then she tells the story that she was in one of these ballrooms and dancing, because, you're a beauty queen. And there was someone dancing with her, and he said something like, do you not care about what's happening to your people of the poverty? And that struck her. Wow. And she began slowly to become politicalized. And she also joined, the movement. So we have several of those. Yeah, in the bourgeois Philippines, they still, they love beauty pageants still. But many of them also, many of the beauty queens now have become politicalized and they speak out, for example, in national issues. And they carry their powerful voice because, they're noted, they're beautiful, and they speak out, let's say, for the rights of women. They speak out when somebody has been imprisoned or disappeared. So they also use, not everyone, of course, but you have some or several. Or even movie actresses now. So.
Do you think this is shifting also a little bit, the image of women maybe in
I think, yes. And I think that's the influence of the movement, that they wouldn't be this if there was not the influence, because the movement, through the demonstrations, through interviews, through things that happen in Philippine life, and that it reaches people all over, Yes, I think that is. And the influence of the strong women's movement that is taking place.
Maybe also regarding this point, because the strong women's movement is also one of the main points of the Kurdish freedom movement. Could you maybe outline for us what would you say are similarities or maybe also differences between the Kurdish people, the Filipinos, and how are these struggles intertwined?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of similarities between your people and the Filipino people. First of all, we have a history of resistance. You have that history, and you've been so strong in your resistance that the whole world knows about the Kurdish struggle, or I think the whole world knows. It's your projection of the Kurdish struggle, your struggle, you're resisting the colonization of Turkey, Iran, Iraq, Syria, With us, you're not one country. That's the difference. We're one country, but we're also resisting. We're resisting the imperial or domination of the United States and its control over our politics, economics, military, and culture. We're resisting that. And we are also fighting for our independence, just like you are. And I think another similarity, you have a very strong women's movement. And we have also a strong women's movement. In a way, I think you're stronger because you have, like what you have done in Rojava. We have not yet done that. We are not yet that level. But that's an example for us. And we have had Filipinos that have gone to Rojava and admired what has happened. So that's, there's that difference. But it's a good difference. And then you have a lot of grassroots organizations. And we also have, not only we have a lot of women's grassroots organizations, but we also have among children, among youth, among peasant women, fisher folk, trade union or workers organizations, peasants. So we all, because that's the basis for our society. So that we're very similar with that. Let me see. I think that would be.
I would maybe ask a question. You can also continue.
I think the language, the Kurdish language, we had that history. Like, as I was telling you earlier, in school we had to speak English. And that's why I think my English is better than my Philippine language. And we have 180 Philippine languages.
Wow. 180?
Yeah. I speak only 3.
You speak 3? That's already a lot. That's already quite a lot.
Yeah, but
wow.
I think I speak better English than I speak any of these 3 languages. Because I was educated in this.
Yeah, of course.
But still, our resistance, our desire to still, to keep our identity, we continued speaking these languages in our homes. So we have preserved the languages, just like you. And I know that in Latin America, they were also colonized by Spain. Spain took away their language and they gave them Spanish. Fortunately for us, Spain did not teach us Spanish. Only the elite were Spanish speaking. So we kept our language. So when the United States tried to give us the English language, we were able to keep our language, just like you. And I think that is so important.
How do you see the situation of the Philippine youth nowadays? Do you think they still speak their language, or is it mainly English?
More.
Even more?
Oh yes, that's one contribution that the National Democratic Revolution has done, because then we speak a lot more in our language. And so now there's been a development of poetry, literature, the spoken language. It is more embedded now. We have, than before.
Are there any programs also, like for example, education courses or language courses that you are aware of, like in the diaspora maybe also? Like, do you know if there are
There's always some attempt to teach the young Filipinos here the language. Here in the diaspora, because they go to school, they learn the language of the country that they are in. But I know many families are trying, in the beginning, when there were not that many Filipinos overseas, the Filipinos spoke, for example, Dutch to their children, and the children spoke Dutch because there were very few Filipinos. But now I see that even the young children are learning to speak Filipino, and that there are classes to bring back the identity.
I think there, especially the woman also has a big role, no? Like in preserving the culture, preserving the language.
Definitely.
Yeah. I want to ask one last question also regarding your perception of women, or like the role of women. Because if we look at the situation in the world today, not just the Philippines or Kurdistan, but in the whole world, we see that there's more war and destruction and everything is getting worse. In this content, how do you see the maybe also problem-solving role of women? Like, what can women contribute to this?
I think it's the woman comes out because the woman wants to preserve the family. And I think that's something that is so innate in women. No? And I think that's where in war and all, it's how to preserve the family. And then the woman becomes strong. And that's why women are so strong today. Because they have to, we have to work, we have to survive, we have to help our nation survive. we have to have our family survive. And that's why in being strong, we do things that we never did before. You know, we help build society. We dare to run for office, and we dare speak up, dare take positions that we didn't know we could do before. But not all women are great, because there are many women who are who follow the calls of imperialism. They are imperialist women. The Philippines has had 2 women presidents. They weren't.
Both of them.
Yeah, and especially one of them had a lot of people killed. So because they were following the rules of what the United States said. But we have many more women who have offered their lives, you know, in fighting for a free Philippines, just as in Kurdistan.
Yeah, definitely. And I think all over the world, I mean, it's not about the biological like gender or something. It's more about this like perspective of the woman, I think, no, that stays connected to like,
I think
society.
we have an inner strength that we don't know we have until we have to use it.
Yeah, that sums it up really beautiful. Yeah. Okay, I think that would be the questions from our side. Is there anything else you would like to say or you would like to add?
No, just that I have always admired the Kurdish women. I have many friends among them. So I'm very happy to do this interview. And I wish, you know, like what's happening now in Rojava, I hope that Rojava will still continue and will still build again. And I wish you all the luck and the success and the victories that you need.
The same to the Philippine people, of course. Yeah. Thank you very much for taking your time.
Thank you also.